Hi everyone, I'm so sorry I'm late. I had some issues to take care of that took longer than I expected, but I am here. I'm here ready to hear your questions that you have for me. So if you can put them in the box, that would be great. Um, I would love to hear what questions you have about the paper. So 1301, your paper is about Adnan and Adnan, whether he's innocent or guilty. So a couple of tips that I want you to put in your ear, whether you're hearing this live or whether you're listening to the playback of this, your thesis has to say that you believe he is innocent or guilty. Do not use any wording that is halfway. So that's kind of what I've been seeing in the thesis. What's your thesis discussions? That there's been some wording that's kind of like, um, I don't agree with the verdict, which tells me you think he's innocent, but it's actually a roundabout way to tell me he's innocent. I want you to tell me directly whether you believe he's innocent or guilty. This is an argument paper, and part of an argument means that there is not only facts that back up your opinion, but also that there is no gray area, that you believe what you believe, and this is what it is. So when you use wording that is not exact, that is not direct, and it leaves it gray and it leaves it kind of obtruse and very like opaque, and you can't really, it doesn't say what it wants to say directly, then you're really not arguing. You're kind of wringing your hands, really. So make sure that you're using direct language. This is not a paper like the memoir paper or the profile paper where you could use flowery language, and that's even a good idea to use that type of language. This is an argument paper, and the argument paper means you've got to be extremely direct, and you can't really do anything roundabout. So use the paper that I gave you as an example as your as everything. There's been a couple of questions of, oh, do we have to um, add the annotations in there? No, you don't. If that paper didn't have annotations, then you don't have to do annotations. That paper, I consider that paper 99.9% perfect. Because nothing's truly perfect, but that's probably the paper out of the entire times I've taught this that is probably the most perfect paper. So looking at that paper as an example, and is that paper is under the why did this make an A discussion. That paper is the example, perfect example of a thesis, perfect example of the structure, perfect example of how to do your conclusion paragraph, perfect example of how to do your works cited page. Copy that exactly, right down to the heading, right down to where the heading in the actual header, and then how the heading is. By the way, your heading is not in the header; it's never in the header, right? So how the heading is, exactly how it is. How it has a title, your paper should have a title. And the title is not argument paper. It needs to be stuff like Adnan guilty just like the verdict, or Adnan as innocent as a person can be. So that's what you want to do with this paper. And you also really want to go to the writing lab. You do not want to leave anything to chance with this paper. You want to go to the writing lab and make sure that everything, all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, all your ducks in a row, every cliche that there is. You want to make sure that that's there, because if it's not there, I am going to count off for it. I'm not going to be lenient on this paper at all. This paper shows me what you have learned. And part of what you have learned is knowing to ask questions, knowing to work ahead, and knowing to go to the writing lab when you need help. Another bug I wanted to put in your ear. Today's the last day I'm answering questions on this paper. So at 5 o'clock, I'm not answering any more questions. And that's really because you've had more than enough time to consider this paper. You've had more than enough time to think about what you need to do, what you don't need to do. You should have already started working on it. So those questions should have already started popping up. Um, so um, if you work last minute and you have questions last minute, I'm sorry, you're not going to get the answer from me. All I can say is that paper that is the example is the perfect example for you to do the paper. Okay, so now I'm going to take questions. So I don't know how many people have showed up, but if there's any questions, I will take some questions and answer them. Okay, let's see here. One recitation, I wanted to use the podcast, but I also wanted to use my own words as well. So what is a good way to set it up to use a quote? Good question. You have a really good example in the book. And essentially we did an exercise like this in the module before, the annotation module, that you could use, that I asked you to use a quote within your sentence. Look at that module and see that. I think if I can, let me see if I can go into D2L here. I think I put the video for that in the module there. There's a module. All of my 1301 classes have a module that says last minute or argument lesson or argument paper, last minute folder, last minute questions folder. And I think there's a video in that I show you how to do it. And if it's not there, and if you can't get it from from your activity, then the book, Writing Today, under citations, that citation chapter I had you guys read, is also in there, how to do it, because I actually looked it up yesterday and it is there. In fact, let me see if I can try to get you a page number while I'm here. Citing, quoting, summarizing, framing questions. So you can do whole sentences, phrases. Okay, page 458 in Writing Today gives a really good example. It's at the bottom. It says sentences and what is an acceptable quotation, and what is not an acceptable quotation. I am going to say don't forget the comma right before the quotation. So if you're using the quotation in a sentence, make sure that there's a comma right before you start the quotation, and that's just a grammatical thing. A lot of people forget that. If it comes from a page, then don't forget to put the page number at the end with parentheses. The period goes on the outside. If there is no page, just say you're using, I think The Intercept is one that everybody's using. Everybody's using that article from The Intercept, and you're doing the citation within the sentence, saying, like, for example, you say, according to this article in The Intercept, comma, and then you have your quotations. Then you don't have an in-text citation at the end because there's no page number. Okay, so page 458 is where it is in the book. There should be something in that folder where I did a video on in-text citations. It should be there. Yeah, that's the answer to that question. Okay, so I only have that one question. There's not that many people answering. So I just wanted to open it up for more questions. If I don't see any more questions, I'll probably finish it, because pretty much I've taught everything you need to know for the paper. Yeah. The chapter on citations and paraphrasing that I had you guys read is a really good source as well to know how to input those things. Let me see. Let me double check that the video is where I say it is. So many discussion posts to grade. Okay. Let's see. Content. And go ahead and type up questions while I'm looking this up. In-text documentation. Yeah, that's in there. A whole video. Yeah, it's in there. So what you want to go to assignment paper last minute folder, which has all the last minute things. all the last minute things, including MLA stuff, how to do the in-text citation, how to do quotes and stuff. Yeah. So interesting. So yeah. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Looking. Okay. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. You have until 5 o'clock to ask any more questions that you need. Go ahead and send me an email. If not, then I will see you guys later. Bye, guys.